Hello friends, welcome back to the new video of ReactJs, or you can say that React Native also, because use effect is used on both the ways, right? So today we are going to learn about what is use effect hook in React or React Native, right? So how we are going to use it, what are the advantages we have to, where we have to use, all these things we are going to learn in this video. Okay, so be with me. So those who aren't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe my channel and hit to like this video if you really like it. Okay, so next, the use effect hooks allows you to perform the side effects. So side by side you have some effects in your components, so use effect hooks allows you to run in your components, right? Some examples like whether you want to fetch the data or directly updating the DOM and the timers, right? Suppose like take an example, like if you want to hit an API. Okay, in the class component we use component did mount, right? And same in this one we are using the use effect, but you need to be very much careful while using the use effect, because it renders every time if you are not passing any kind of dependencies or any kind of arguments over here, right? So I will show you what happens, right? So let's see the example of it. I'm going to copy this use effect and go to our app.js public, where is source, app.js. So currently we have this one function app. Okay, export default. I'm going to just rewrite the import function. Okay, let's copy this. Import use effect function app. So we will use here export default function app. Okay, if you are writing like this, so it will render every time. If I go over here, can we do the console over here? Console.log. See, runs every time. Once it render, whenever there is a change of state or change of the update of the props and state, so it will render every time. So there is no, if because here we haven't passed anything, like it will stop whether this is updated, so it will render every time, right? So next, the side effects runs once after initial rendering. Okay, so next we are going to run like this one. If we just pass the empty braces, then runs once after initial rendering, right? If we use this one, just pass this empty braces. Here we go with the code is here. You can just pass the empty braces, right? And just go and check first time, right? So next we are going to check. This is if you want just one, runs at a time, only when there is an initial rendering, then pass the empty array. Okay, the side effects runs only when any different dependencies value changes, right? So in that case, uh, 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 runs after initial rendering, it will run first time, and after every rendering only prop and state changes. So when there is a change of the state prop, like suppose you can say that the counter, right? We are changing the state, we are changing the props and the state by clicking on the +1 decrement +2, right? So on that note, it will rendering after each and every change of the prop and the state. Okay, so this is the prop and state you can pass, and is there any change in the prop and the states, it will render at that only. If you want only the one time it will be rendered, just pass the empty array, right? Next, take an example of use effect over here. Okay, so this is an example for the, you can say the counter set count. By default it is 0, and when I click on number of times it will get incremented, right? If I'm going to use this one, okay, let's do it. Let's copy it, like how much time it will gonna be run. So where is our code? So we're going to write this. Now you have to add export default function. It's to be app, right? This function components. Okay, let's check. Okay, so let's do the console.log, how many times it run. So this document is here. Okay, let's enter this and add console.log Okay, let's see. One time click, two times, three times, four times. You can see that this is rendering and it is running. Okay, so you can see that number of time it's click, it will re-rendering, right? You can see that the here you can see that how many times, 8 times. When I click on this again, it 9 times, right? So keep on rendering when I click on it. Okay, so if I want to stop it render at a one time, what we can do is we need to pass the empty braces, right? Reload it. See how number of times I have clicked, there is no change. Okay, the number of times I have clicked, there is no change. Okay, so whenever you want only one time, then you should use the empty braces, else it will re-rendering every change. Every re-rendering part is done in your React hooks, right? So be careful on that. Okay, what does hook use effect do? Basically what did we do, right? By this hook you tell the React that your component needs to do something after rendering. After rendering you want something, right? You want to hit the API, you want to fetch the API, you want to store in the state. So this kind of things can be done in the use effect. React will remember the function you passed and call it later after performing the DOM updates. In this effect we set the document title, but we could not also perform data fetching or call some other imperative API. Why is use effect called inside the component? For the scope, placing use effect inside the scope, let us assess the count state variable or any right from the effect. We don't need a special API to read or something, right? So we have always called in the component so that we can assess it the state or to use it anywhere in the render function. Does use effect runs after every render? Yes, by default it's true. So some if anybody can tell you that ask you question like does use effect run after every time? Yes, it will render until or unless you are not going to change your logic or update the logic. Like if this happens, then not going to be rendered. Like this we have passed the empty braces, or you want like when one number is clicked, then you can bypass the count. If count is there, then there is no need to update it. Okay, so this is that one. And yes, by default it runs both the first render and after every update, right? Instead of thinking in terms of mounting and updating, you might be find easier to think that the effects happen after render. React guarantees the DOM has been updated by the time it runs the effects. So React has guarantees that the DOM has been updated by the time it runs the effects. Okay, so next we can check this one also. If after particular time it is render how many times, right? So you can see that we can also use this one code. So let's change it function app, and use effect is there, and make it app, and we will use export default function, right? 12 times, 13 times, 14 times, right? It is keeps on rendering. Okay, if I go and check the console.log how many times it render. Let's see console.log. Okay, let's see 7, 8, 9, 10. It keeps on rendering until we are going to add some logic over here, right? So moving to the next part, this is, but when it keeps counting, even though it should count only once, right? It should be counting at once, but it keeps on rendering. How to resolve it? Okay, so this is another scenario. So I have already told you that we can pass the empty braces or we can pass the props or state to it, right? So what we are going to use, we are going to use this effect right now. Okay, so we'll copy this use effect and going to paste it over here. You can also pass directly here comma with empty braces, right? And now you can see how many times it renders. I'm going to reload this. Okay, so it's only one time. Still you can see that it's not render, right? So it's because we want only render at a one at once at a time, so we have passed the empty braces. Keep in mind, if you want to render at one time, just pass the empty braces. If you want to update like whenever there's this update of the state and the props, then you can pass the state and props, then it will re-render again this use effect. Okay. Hook that is dependent on variable. If the count variable updates, the effect will run again, right? If I suppose add the count over here, right, we have passed the empty braces right here. So when there is a change in the state, I want to update that one also. That means this is a state, right? State and props we have already discussed. If I go and check this, okay, every time the state updates, this is rendering, right? So when there is a count, like it is updating by this seconds, and it will keep on updating because the state and props are updated, then again it will render, right? So this is that one. So next one, the rest one, that if you are keep on updating like this, so there is a memory leak, right? To reduce that one, we are using the effect cleanup. So we can return something that is clear timeout or something, so you can also use this one. So return, so here we can return this one, so that after some time it will clear out the things. Timer is not defined. Okay, okay, you can add the function app. No, no, it's not app, because this is the timer function, right? So we have already defined as a this one, so we will use this one. I will export in the next section, because this one we can use exactly, and here we can use export default app. Here we go with the timer, because this is a timer, and we can, okay, and now you can see that we load this one. Okay, so one times, so there is a cleanup, right? We have to clear out the timer, so when it renders, we have, there is no memory leak, there is nothing, right? So we can use effect. Okay, so this is the full-fledged tutorial on that, like where we have to use the effect or something like this. Okay, so I hope you understand what exactly the use effect and how to use it. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Have a great day. Don't forget to like, share and comment on my video. Have a nice day.